podcasting from my closet in northern Japan. This is Reimagining Hustle, a podcast for entrepreneurial parents creating a life where business and parenthood live peacefully in the same space. I'm your host, Roxanne Merkett, a mom of two, microbusiness coach, and serial entrepreneur on a journey to prove that it is possible to do what you love without sacrificing all your precious time. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Reimagining Hustle. I am already super jazzed for my guest today. I have Samantha Kellgren with us. Samantha, thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, I've been really looking forward to this too. Just the name of your show is oh, let's talk.
Right? I'm super excited you feel that way. That's it for me, has been this quest of how can we have healthy conversations about real life and kind of adjusting the norm. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today. So thanks for being with me.
Yeah.
Will you just dive in and tell us all the things? Tell us about you, what it is you do, kind of your journey to get there.
Yeah, God, I know. And I know you said before, okay, you can get super detailed or bullet points. I'm I always think I'm going to do bullet points and then it ends up not being bullet points. So we'll see how this goes.
Don't even worry. I'm just going to hit the highlights and then I'm oh, but you have to know all this stuff.
Right? So, yeah. But wait, this is important. So really, I grew up in Kentucky. I was in Chicago for 10 years with my husband. We met in college. Actually, we've been together for 16 years now, which is crazy to me. And I really fell in love with running in Chicago. And so that became this huge part of my identity. I met a lot of friends through run groups. And so, and I always say, Chicago, you can run forever because it's flat. Yeah. And I live in North Carolina now. It is not flat here. We are living on a hill. Everything is a hill. Yeah. Totally different experience. But so we're in Chicago for 10 years and we went off the pill. I went off the pill to try to get pregnant and my period was totally gone. Oh, and yeah. And I was a personal trainer at the time. I was a run coach, certified running coach. I still am a certified running coach, but we touch on those things. Oh, you could lose a period. Some athletes, they'll say even that it's normal. And it's well, it might be common, not normal for your body. So I learned real fast about what was going on. We went down the road to IVF. We did IVF to have our now 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. And it really shifted my mindset on so many levels. For one, I'm just pushing. I am going to get my workouts in. I was building my personal training business. Then because of that, really switched to more health coaching, the mindset side of things. But I'm going to, meet my clients whenever they can meet. I'm going to take on a second job with that. I need to be productive at all times and looking at, hey, your period stopped because you're under too much stress. Yeah. Your period stopped because you've got this mental stress and this physical stress. I know we'll get more into this, but believing for years that the cardio and workouts were a stress relief, which they are. However, I couldn't differentiate when it was adding to my stress versus actually helping it, because I had that guilt if I don't do all the things. Here's my to-do list, going to do all the things. So it really kind of brought me to where I am now. And we've been in Asheville, like I said, 2 years now. And the moment we moved, I knew we were looking for mountains. We're starved for nature, basically. We didn't have a car for 9 years until my son was the month before he was born. So we were in the city and it is just this high stress level that when we moved here, I'm oh my God, this is what I need. And it made me look at all different areas, not just workouts. It is kind of how I and many, many women, that perfectionist side that I need to accomplish, how we judge ourselves, how we think others are judging us, to these higher standards that don't always jive with our bodies or what we actually want in our life. We don't stop to think about it though. And it took a lot to make me stop and think about it. And so I'm trying to help people before they get to that point of, let's think about it now before you burn out. Let's think about it now before you dread when your alarm goes off every morning. How can you bring that who you are and what you want, not what your to-do list says, not what you think you should be doing, but how can you bring that into your everyday life? So that was more than bullet points, but that is really kind of what brought me to focus on this clientele, because before it was more, health coaching. I'm going to help them with eat healthier and all these things, but that was just putting more on their plates. And what I realized is more people need, the information's out there. We need that one-on-one attention of look at me as a person and help me figure out what I actually want, what's really important to me. And there's no just one worksheet that's going to do that. It takes a lot of introspection. So it kind of helps to have someone like going through it with you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I have 1 bazillion follow-up questions. So I'm going to try this. I'm so excited to talk to you just because I think this is such an important topic. I want to go back to something you said when you mentioned that you went off the pill, but you didn't get your period, and you kind of like glazed over this. So I want to come back and dive into
a big deal
for a second. It's a very big deal, but you said something interesting. You said that we're told that this is normal. It's not normal. It's common.
Yeah.
So will you like this for me, like you said that and my mind went, whoop, let's talk about this. Like, this is so, cause I've heard this, right? As an athlete, I heard this like, oh, your period will probably stop. That's super normal. Right. Like, but that was always from men who were telling me that. Right. And so talk to me a little bit about what that experience was like.
Yeah. So, and it's crazy because I was in personal training and they talk about hormones, but it was not to this level. So what it's called is hypothalamic amenorrhea. It's HA. My period totally stopped. Like I waited 3 months after I went off the pill because you go off the pill immediately and it's like, yeah, you might not get it for you. Body has to
some weirdness at first, right?
Yeah. After 3 months, there was nothing, and went to my OB and they said it could be, you might be running a little too much, but I'm like, okay, tell me what number of miles can I run?
Like, okay, so like too much is like down to
exactly.
Yeah.
I need a plan. I need to know exactly what is too much. And with our bodies, we don't know that. We don't know that. I mean, I think it's ridiculous when you look at like calorie plans of, well, you don't know what my body, like, I don't know how hungry I am today versus tomorrow. But she said it could be running to back off. So I was like, ugh. And so I took a little bit and then I took out intervals. It's okay. I won't do the speed work. I'll keep it steady state. We go to a fertility specialist and they do a test and I have no uterine lining. So there's like nothing to bleed out. So he was like, you're gonna need more body fat, but he didn't give me a name for it.
Okay.
You need to put more body fat on, more weight on. It was like, okay. I was like, all right. So now I'm going to confront like opposite of what anything in society tells you to try to gain weight. Like, even if you're underweight, it's like, okay, we'll stay there.
Right. Like this is fine. This is healthy. Right.
People are much more, I'd say likely, but everyone to, compliment the weight loss and not say anything if you're too thin, but say something if you are in their eyes slightly overweight.
Totally.
So you're getting those messages of like, I shouldn't want to gain weight. So I really had to work on the mindset there of why is this so important to me? And why am I fearing certain foods? And it was this gray area. I never had an eating disorder, but I had like disordered thoughts around feeding myself, which again, common, not exactly normal, right?
Right. But like, we feel like it's normal, right? But spot on.
Because that's how society is. It's set up that way. And it's all in the messages you are receiving. And if you can't really think for yourself around that, how does that affect me? And so I started to look at, well, because I liked my 6-pack. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, if it, I want to get pregnant, I'm not gonna have a 6-pack then. Right. But if that goes away, like what else am I gaining? It was like, well, I'm gonna have more freedom to, hey, I wanted to go on a long run tomorrow, but I'd rather do this other thing. It popped up instead of turning that down because I have to do the long run. Maybe I'll do a shorter run, do it the next day. There's just more flexibility. And I see that into my career, right? Oh, any moment he's napping, I need to be working. I need to be productive. I need to show your work, right? And that's why I like with the workouts, it's show your work. It's, I did this many miles. I burned this many calories. This accomplishment. And I don't see it as something wrong with feeling a sense of accomplishment when you work out. I still love a good run. I still love a good workout, but it's when you feel you failed because you didn't hit whatever plan you're trying to follow. it's that kind of backside of it. It should be a motivator. It should feel good, but the moment it starts feeling like a stress, it's okay to let it go. And why am I doing this in the first place instead of just pushing through it?
That makes so much sense. As you say that, I think, I had a workout yesterday that was cut in half because my son needed my attention, right? It's like my workout, I was in the middle of it. I was on, cycle 2 of 4 I was boxing, cycle 2 of 4. And he came in and was just in tears. And I thought, no, we're just going to stop it. And for a minute, it was that like resentment of like, I didn't get my 4 cycles. And I was like, no. I worked out. I did it. I did the thing. We're good. So,
but you did that, right? Instead of what? Okay, I have to make up for it.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'm resentful. Oh, how can I get more in? And it's like, no, it didn't work out today with whatever it is, and it's hard because I do talk about the, health and fitness side of it, which is a big part. A lot of women relate to that. But if you start to notice, if you're that way about these things, what other areas are you like that? Because it's always setting that next goal, and it's good to have a goal to work towards. But when you are defining your personal success and it's a lot of, I earned this, or I deserve to rest because I did this, instead of just like, I'm tired and I want nothing more than to lay on the couch right now and read a book. Instead of going through, did I earn time to sit down and read a book? It's, no, I want to sit down and read a book. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm not going to feel guilty over it. And I think that there is just so much pressure we put on ourselves and that we feel from other people that isn't actually there. No one actually cares what it is you're doing day to day.
Yeah. It's almost like that tuning off or tuning out what everybody else is saying you have to do and saying, okay, I'm going to listen to my body here. I'm going to actually pay attention to what I need, not what I think I'm supposed to need.
Yeah. And it's really hard to do. It's really hard. I mean, when you think about even things like, okay, because of social media, if you think of, okay, you've been with your partner for a while and you're at the age where you're seeing just everyone is getting engaged and you sort of feel like, why hasn't he proposed? Have you stopped to ask yourself, are we ready to get married? And maybe you are, great, but we skip that step of like, why am I jealous of this? It's that should be happening to me. And it started even with my coaching. I kept, you follow one business coach and that's the algorithm is like, here, let me show you every single business coach out there.
Yes.
And I kept seeing, 6 figure, make 6 figures in 6 months and like all this. Not that there's anything bad about that, but it instantly starts to feel like what I'm making isn't enough. This needs to be my goal because that's what's put in front of me. And I need to work until I get to that point instead of being like, well, what is my goal right now? At that point, I was figuring out, do I want to do group? Am I doing one-on-one? Like that's and as soon as I started figuring out, no, this is how I want to work with people. Let me define who I want to work with instead of what's going to get me to 6 figures. It's like, no, who do I want to work with? Like, let's start there, because if I'm one-on-one coaching, I want to be passionate about it. That's why I started this. So focus on where you are at that time instead of feeling, oh my God, there's always going to be someone ahead of you.
Always.
In anything, right?
Right.
So you're never going to reach that point where you've arrived. So you got to enjoy it. You got to make peace and figure out what you can do to enjoy where you are as you're working towards it. But so you're not just, that's my goal and I've got to work my ass off and who cares what until I get there and then set the next one.
Goals, not destinations, right? That's what
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So tell us I want to ask, like, who is the client that you work with and what question are they asking before they contact you? Like, what is that point that they hit?
It is. And it's so hard, as you can probably identify with this. It's so hard. I mean, look, hello, what do I have in front of me? A book that says niche down.
Yes.
So it's hard to describe because I do think it's a feeling.
Yeah.
But that feeling when you are constantly Googling or searching for the right thing to do, the plan that will get you somewhere. And you are looking for other people's opinions and you're looking for something to follow. and you're looking for, what is this path? And what is the best way I can do this? And when you stop to think, is this even what I want to work towards? And you feel like you're not, a lot of the women I talk to feel like they will say they feel like they are not fully present. And that's such a vague thing, but I think you know it. If that resonates with you, you're like, okay.
You know, when you get there, right?
Right. If you are always, in your head about how can I make these plans work? And well, like, what does this mean? Okay, if we do this now, and you're constantly planning and fretting over not being productive enough. Like if I said, can you take a break midday, not planned, and read a book for 30 minutes? And you're like, I could never do that. I'm talking to you. So I think that they hit this point where it's like, I'm not fully enjoying where I am now. I want to work towards these goals, but I don't want it to kill me. I want to work towards these goals, and I want to also have time for myself. I'm not paying attention to what I want. And so it kind of just reaches this point where, okay, I do want to spend more time on me, but then we don't know even where to start. And we're like, how do I do that?
Yeah, right. Like, tell me how, give me the plan.
Right. Give me the plan. And that is probably what sets me aside is I'm like, God, am I like a reverse health coach? Because I'm like, look, we're going to do less. And it's going to be very small goals of just like, what do you want to work on this week? Like, what would make you, it's a lot of feeling work of how do you want to feel going into this week? What can you do? And I'm not saying, here's what you should do to get there. It's what can you do that will bring you to that feeling? And how can we make that happen? And it sounds so ridiculous. My husband's like, who needs that? I'm like, a lot of people need that.
So many people need that. Oh my word. Yes. Yes.
It is.
So
it's that hand holding. One of my clients now, that literally was her goal of like, I'm going to set aside 30 minutes to read, to take time for myself. And we both agree, I'm like, this is going to be hard. You're going to sit down and you're going to be looking at your kitchen thinking I could do the dishes. You're going to be thinking I should be working on something. I can be doing, personal development. I should be doing, no, pick a book that you would enjoy. What would 15-year-old you want to read? Yes. Go there. And like, you're going to have this resistance. What can we do? Let's come up with something to say. And so she made a bookmark, and because the phrase we came up with is, this is worthy of my time. Because that's what we need. Because we always feel like we could be doing 10 other things, especially the mom. Even if you're not a mom, even if you're not a business owner, you have a job, you have people you care about, you have a home, you've got a lot of things that are competing for that space. And then we've got things telling us, these are the workouts you should be doing. This is the way you should be eating. You should be making your own whatever. Never eat this. And it's like, oh my God, but what if it is important to you? What do you want to focus on? Because this is going to be a tangent, but
I'm here for it.
It comes back, it really illustrates this. So my mother-in-law got us one of those herb growers.
Yeah.
Didn't ask for it. And it takes up a lot of space. And like in my head, I'm like, I like to use fresh herbs. However, this thing is causing me a stress because if I didn't use them enough, now they're dying, and I don't want to waste them. And my husband, it's no big deal to him. He's like, well, you just cut it. I'm sure we can just like dry them in the oven. It'll take like 5 minutes, just do that. And I'm like, yeah, I probably would. And then I stopped. I was like, but that's not how I want to spend my time. I don't care about this enough. I'm fine buying dried herbs right now in my life. Maybe in 5 years, I will. Not a priority. So I suddenly stopped feeling guilty for, I'm not upkeeping this. I should be able to find a way to make this work. It's like, no, this is just not a thing that I want on my plate right now. I've got other things that I will take time to do. I've got other things that are more intensive, but that's not the one. And away went every ounce of, I should be able to do this. Why can't I just do this? This would be a great thing this is very healthy, that, all those shoulds. And it was like, but is this what I want to do? And that's not how I spend my time. And I'm making sourdough bread and I love it and enjoy. That's much more intensive, but it's something that I want to do because I found a way to make it work. It's worth my time. Exactly. And the other thing just wasn't. And we don't stop to ask ourselves that. We read the Pinterest thing, we read, the article on like the perfect morning routine, and we don't stop to think, would that actually make my morning better? Instead, we just like, okay, gotta add journaling.
Yeah. This is the thing I'm supposed to do that'll help me feel better.
Right. It's so true. And it's just, we don't take that time to stop, I think.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm going to jump out of order. I don't usually ask this question right now, but I really want to ask you this question. So I feel like you are describing reimagining hustle, right? Like, I feel like you have just like embodied that and like are radiating that. And so I want to know, in your own life, not for your clients, but in your own life, how do you reimagine hustle?
Oh man. So a lot of this was with COVID. I think, my son, he's 3, and thankfully they went back in June, but there was 12 weeks where, there's you can't go anywhere.
Right.
And suddenly my time became much more precious, my time to myself. It was literally only nap. And I'd go to bed before 10. So that's not much time on the other end. And I looked at, how am I spending this time? What am I working on? Is this important to me? And it's like, I don't want to only work when he's napping. Let me look at what's like the biggest thing. It made me time block better. What's the biggest thing I want to get done? Let's put that in. And I'm going to make sure I've got time. I started cross stitching again, that I literally started before he was born. I picked that up again. I started reading. I didn't read for 16 months once he was born, because it was like, what's happening?
Right.
All that. I can't read all those. I can't read. I don't have time to read. What am I going to read? And I went to a book signing and got a book. I was like, I'll see how this goes. I have read on average 2 books a month since then.
That's awesome.
Because I found that time and I made that time, and I decided what's important to me.
Yeah.
I love reading. I missed it so much. I love reading. I want to make sure that that is just as important as getting a blog post written. I'm going to make sure that I get outdoor time. It's looking at and I take other people through this, because I realize it's what I did, is looking at what brings me the most happiness and the most sense of everything is okay in your life right now. And that is getting outside in nature. So I take the dog on 2 walks a day. Don't have to be long, but it's just to get outside in the sunshine, feel the air, move my body in the neighborhood. And that is going to take precedence over getting a little more work done, because I've decided this makes me feel good. And it's really hard to do, because that goes against the should sometimes of, you were with your son all morning, didn't get any work done. You should be taking all the time you can to get work done. It's like, to be better at what I do, I need 20 minutes outside. I have to take that time.
Oh, yes. I can totally get behind this reimagined idea of hustle, right? And I feel like we keep coming back to the theme of like, is it worth my time? Is this how I want to be spending my time? So kind of on that. Oh, sorry, you were going to say, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was like, that was a like deep sigh of like,
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to miss, I feel like you're like dropping gems left and right. I didn't want to miss anything. So I want to know, what does success look like to you?
Oh my God. So that's another thing, is redefining success, redefining productivity. And so success, I was very much, for one, when it was running, it was race times, and then with my career, it was how much did I produce today?
Yeah.
What did I do? I can go through that. How many clients did I sign?
Yeah.
And because those are the metrics we're taught, right? Like this is what's, no, it's not important, but this is what matters. How much money did you bring in?
Right.
And I started looking at, for one, what do I want out of my life? I love being a mom. We worked really freaking hard to get him here, and I love being a mom. So suddenly, when I realized that is a huge part of me and part of me that I love, when I'm sitting on the couch with him reading a book for an hour, he could sit there forever and read, I'm not feeling antsy like I should be doing something else. Because this is exactly what I want to do. This is success. This is raising a kind human. This is spending one-on-one time with my son. This is important. This is successful. The other thing was, when I looked from the work side of it, it was very much how many how many clients do you have at one time and stuff like that. And then when I thought, why do I coach? And you have to like work backwards. It's like, well, why do I coach? What do I love about this? I love supporting and truly helping women have those aha, like epiphanies. And when they say, oh my God, a light bulb went off over my head, or they say, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. That is a good day for me. And so I realized no matter if that happens on a client who has signed a contract and is working with me, or I make a comment to someone in my Facebook group that is totally free and they never work with me, that's success. I have thank you notes that people have written that aren't clients, but say, I'm so glad I found your group, or I'm so glad I found your feed, whatever it is. Thank you so much for the work you're doing. How can I not look at that as successful and put only, well, she didn't sign. Like, no, oh my God, stop caring about that. And it really brings so much more passion into what I do, because I think we start with that passion and then it gets beat out of us the more we're forced to focus on numbers and all of that. But when you come back to that, why am I doing this in the first place? Oh, is to change how someone thinks and make their day lighter. Mm-hmm. She wrote me a letter to tell me that. I don't care if she ever signs. I don't care, honestly. It's why it's on my desk. That meant so much to me. I mean, it's like gold. So it really is looking at why you're doing what you're doing, what makes you the happiest, and that's a successful day. I mean, and you have to keep reminding yourself, because capitalism, right?
Right.
Oh my God. I just heard the best quote. It's a podcast called Call Your Girlfriend. I don't know if you've heard about it.
I haven't listened. I'll have to.
God, they just did a great one on burnout. And she kind of flippantly said, you can't self-care your way out of capitalism. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I was walking the dog. I'm like, I'm remembering that forever. It was because it's not enough. Like you can't have the self-care routine to get you out of that. It's a total change in mindset and how you see what is important to you. Mm-hmm. And that is going to make it much easier to deal with, because it's going to be there. Right. It's going to be there. It's how do you react to it?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I feel like I can't even, I need to like needle point that on a pillow, right? Like that
might be my next cross stitch, right?
Seriously, like, but it's so true. It's so true. Oh my goodness. Samantha, do you experience guilt ever around building your business and raising a child at the same time?
I mean, I feel like there's always going to be guilt. I feel like a lot less now.
Yeah.
It is. And it's because I've been able to separate when I am decided that this is my time block, I'm working on my business. Mm-hmm. That is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. When I decide this is the time block that I've gotten him all morning, today's a Friday, he doesn't have school, he's in 3 just mornings a week. That is what I'm doing, and I'm not guilty about it. But it took practice to remind myself this is what's important. I also think that him seeing me, it's not just him seeing me work, right? It's him seeing me fulfilled in some way, whatever that was, even just volunteering. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a monetary thing, but doing something that is outside of him that I am passionate about is really important. And even just the little things I do to take care of myself. Like I was going to acupuncture, and he tried to say, he's like, he goes, that's a hard word to say. I was like, it is. But I'm like, she helps me feel better. I'm like, this is why I go to this. This is why I have time for this. And so I think that recognizing that you're likely to feel guilty no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. So it's up to you to decide not to, is a lot of power in that, because otherwise you're going to be pulled into feeling guilty no matter what you're doing, right? Yeah. There's so much. And know that there's not one way to do it. You can get it wrong. I think that's the other thing. Grace about you can get this wrong. Mm-hmm. You can look back and be like, I really didn't need to take that call today, or whatever it is. Looking at, oh, I really should have stayed up and written that email. Mm-hmm. Okay, now move on. Now you know how that felt. Now move on. And so that really eliminates a lot of like, what is the most important right now? And know that, hey, if I get it wrong, I can choose again differently next time.
I love that too. It's just this idea that you get it wrong doesn't mean you're a bad person, doesn't mean you're a bad human, doesn't mean that you like failed forever. It's like, oh yeah, I found another way that doesn't work. Great. Like let's move.
Yep. Check.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Samantha, what do you wish people knew about parenting and entrepreneuring at the same time?
Oh my God. Uh, I mean, both are creative.
Yeah. It's so true.
They do. I feel like both have made me better at the other.
Mm.
Just with the problem solving, with the mindset of what it means to be a good parent, what it means to be present, what it means to be a good business owner, what it means to put myself into my business.
Mhm.
I think that time blocking is my best friend.
Yes.
Even if I'm not rigidly to it, but just so I'm not every day thinking, what do I want to get done today? I spend the first part of my Sunday mornings. My husband gets my son in the morning on Sunday. And so I wake up, I do a little yoga, and I take time to look at my week and think, what's the most important thing I want to get done? And I put little time blocks where they are most likely to happen.
Mhm.
And that way I'm not thinking about it all the time. And so I also know I plan nothing Monday morning because I'm with him. So
Mhm.
whatever he wants to do, I'm able to just let him do that. So, I mean, I'm talking in like very big terms, I feel like, but I think it really is just looking at your time of how do you want to spend it that day, and knowing that you're going to feel like there isn't enough time, but there's enough time for what's most important.
Mhm.
And knowing that you're doing two different things. One is business, one is raising your family.
Yeah.
And how can you make them fit best? I like to get up early, and that is my time for me. And then I get probably about 45 minutes of work done. And then when he is up, I am with him. So it's really kind of been separating the two, I think, for me, but it's time management. And I think that people that go into business for themselves are inherently at least somewhat good at that, or
Yeah.
they wouldn't even think they could do it.
Or you've got to get real good at it real fast.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That is like a key. So you're likely either learning that, or you've learned that I know how to at least somewhat manage my time.
Yeah.
Start there, and then you're going to feel less frazzled, because you could be working all the time and you could also be mothering all the time. So figure out your flow and when those buckets of time are, so you're not feeling you should be doing the other thing.
Yeah. I want to ask you, I'm going to make you dive a little bit deeper if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think about, my listeners who are hearing this and thinking, oh, okay, yeah, that's real fine and good. But like, how do I do that? So can you give us some like actionable steps of like, how what kind of things are you looking for when you're looking for those patterns of time?
Well, one of it is a big thing that I always tell people, and this is why you can't just download a template for it, right? Is what is the flow of your day? This kind of blew some of my clients' minds. It was, instead of, okay, I need some boundaries, so I will check email from 7 to 8 a.m. Don't set a time. If you have young kids, make it work with their flow. Okay, I know that when they are eating breakfast is the time I'm able to answer my emails. So you don't have a time on it, but you have, whenever they are doing XYZ is when I do this. And so it's going more the flow with your natural day. Also looking at, when do you have the most creative energy? When do you have the energy that is more like, I can copy paste stuff, I can create an image, I'm not writing a blog post. My creative work, I mean, I can't really work creatively past probably 4.
Yeah.
I can't, my brain doesn't do that. I know that.
Yeah.
So anytime I'm looking at, I need to write a blog post, I don't really have this idea formed yet, but I need to brainstorm. I'm going to do that early morning and not late afternoon. I think also looking at, and maybe some people are different, but for me, I can't have it too strict of timing. From 9 to 9:15, I'm doing this, especially if he's here, there's like no time. It's like, in this area, I would like to get laundry done.
Yeah.
But if he's at school, if he is napping, it'll be in this time block. This is what I'm doing. So I know what I'm working on, but it is not to the minute, because the least little thing happens, they don't go down for a nap. So whatever it is, something happens and you can't get it done, then your entire day is thrown. So look at it loosely, for one, and just plug in pieces of time. So it's not so strict. I think that really helps, because otherwise I know I go crazy. If I plan for something, okay, I know I'm going to drop them off at school, I should be back by 9. I'm not going to plan something exactly at 9 to 9:15 and then 9:30, because I know if there is traffic, if whatever, if we're running late, I don't want to start my morning that way. So really putting yourself also in the moment. So before you say yes to anything, before I scheduled this podcast, I talked with my husband. Are you able to be done by 5 so you can take on? Yes. How am I going to feel Friday at 5? Well, I love doing these. I get fired up having these conversations. That's going to be a great way to end my week.
Yeah.
But if it was, oh, I'm going to schedule this thing, Friday afternoon, I'm likely burnt out for the week. I know, let me put myself there in my mind. I am not going to want to work on this. Do not plan it then. So really to put yourself in that moment as you're planning your week. How am I going to feel? How do I usually feel at 3:00? Am I going to want to do that? Is that going to be possible for me? So you're not working against yourself.
I appreciate you giving this, such actionable advice. And I love what you've described. We use the same technique at my house, but we call it a routine versus a schedule, right? Like a schedule is going by the hours of the day, but our routine is,
I like that.
We get up and then we do this and then we do this. And when this happens, then we do that. And for us, that's the only way we survived the pandemic, right? Is like getting through with a routine. And so I appreciate too. And I love this idea of, I feel like you described, it's like budgeting, right? Like when you first start a budget, you need to pay attention to what you're spending before you start setting a budget, right? When you're trying to get healthier, you pay attention to what you're eating so you know what's actually happening. And you've just described that with time, right? Is like pay attention to what's happening so you know what to plan for. And so it's kind of that preparation work. We want so often to just dive in and say, hey, like, let's do this thing right now, but we actually have to take a moment to take account of what's happening. So thank you for giving us something very actionable that we could do today. I really appreciate that. Samantha, will you give us a pep talk just for other parents on this journey?
Yeah. Oh God. For one, you can do it. I have behind me, my little letterboard says, you're doing a great job.
Yes.
Keep reminding yourself. I think the biggest thing, my favorite quote from is Amy Poehler. It's good for her, not for me. So just remember, you know what's best for you. You know if you're approaching burnout, you know if you've taken on too much, and you are the only one who's going to protect your time. So protect it fiercely. Give yourself that time for, I don't even like the word self-care. I don't even like the word healthy or self-care anymore, but give yourself that time to spend on you. And even if that is actually, I want to write this new course, even as I want to read about sleep training. Great. If that's what you want to do, and you're like, I'm looking forward to this, make sure you've got something in every day that you look forward to, because that is the only way that you're going to stay you. But we're doing this. It's not like you can do this. You're doing it. You're in it. It's going to get hard, but the fact that you find these resources, you're a resourceful person, you're going to kill it. You are. I mean, really, it is. We put so much pressure, but when we stop and look at, hey, what the heck have I done? I've done so much. You're raising a human, and if you create anything outside of that, you are killing it.
Extra bonus. Oh my goodness, Sam, thank you. You've been pep talked. There you go. Sam has pep talked you. I am like ready to just go and just conquer the world with this. This has been an absolute treat. Thank you for spending your afternoon with me. Before we let you go, we need to know where we can get more of you, where we can find you online.
Oh, yes. Okay. My website is simplywellcoaching.com. And that's where you can I will send you a link so everyone can get grounded in 21 days. It is 21 very quick exercises you can do to really remember who you are, to come home to yourself. If you're listening, come say hi on Instagram. I'm at Simply Well Coaching. And then I'd love to see you all in my Facebook group. It is Aligned Action Collective. I'll send a link for that as well. I do free coaching every week. It's a great group of women that are working for bigger things, but also want to remember who they are and make sure that that is aligned with what feels right for them. And we're not just taking random advice.
sounds amazing. And we'll make sure we link everything in the show notes so that, we've got all of those things. And I actually downloaded that grounding worksheet before our call. I'm really excited to dive into that as well. So Samantha, thank you so much for your wisdom, for your grace, for just the gift of your time. It has been a treat to spend this time with you.
Thank you. It was amazing. It really was.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to Reimagining Hustle with Roxanne Merkett. If you like the show and want more, check out reimagininghustle.com and please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back next week with another episode. See you soon.